It's like that meme, right? Where the house is burning behind you and you're just like, this is fine, right? That's exactly what's happening. And I feel like that's what all of these big finance YouTubers are saying, right? And you have the Andre guy, whatever the hell his name is, when he started getting into crypto, he's like, oh, buy Bitcoin Cash and buy all these things and buy all that. It's nonsense. Nobody's researching anything. Nobody looks into anything, right? The fact that Graham didn't buy Cardano is a testament that he didn't research anything about Cardano. Because if you looked into Cardano, you would not buy Ethereum over Cardano. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at something I think is going to be a little bit fun. So I haven't watched this at all, but it's the interview with Graham, Stephan, and Bitboy. I'm actually really excited for this, because I can already feel it, and just like looking at the dislikes, I can already feel where this is gonna go. I read some comments, but I haven't spoiled anything. We're gonna take a look into it. I'm gonna react. I'm gonna pause, that kind of thing. I think it'll be fun. So let's get into it.
Hey guys, I'm joined, very special treat today with Graham Stephan, one of the best financial YouTubers out there. You know, he dabbled a little bit in cryptocurrency, made some Bitcoin videos, but he does a phenomenal job. You guys should make sure to subscribe to his channel. We'll have it down in the comments. Graham, how are you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. All the way to Las Vegas.
All the way to Las Vegas for this video. Absolutely. So, you know, we're here at your house.
I find it really funny that Bitboy wanted so badly to be on his show. Maybe it's just a courtesy. I don't even know why Graham Stephan personally would want to expose himself to Bitboy. Maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot. Maybe you guys are incredible Bitboy fans. Who knows? I don't particularly like him. I watch him, but you know, we have a limited selection of crypto YouTubers.
Absolutely beautiful house. Love everything going on out here. But, you know, for our audience, we've had a lot of people that have gotten rich this year. I mean, that's just a fact of the matter. You've seen what's happening with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and you really specialize in more traditional investments, real estate. That's kind of your forte. I want to know from you, like, what does someone who, let's just say, has gotten rich over 6 months, what do you think the best way for them to kind of hedge that money on the traditional market is?
In terms of what I would do, I would feel very uncomfortable myself keeping more than like 20% of my net worth in cryptocurrency, unless I know you're the exception and you would advocate, you know, go all in.
Here's my problem. One, with having someone like Graham Stephan talk crypto, they really don't understand exactly what crypto is. Now, I think he's right in a lot of aspects. I think, you know, anyone that doesn't understand that the risk that they're going into probably doesn't want 20% of their net worth in crypto. But I will say that I sleep just fine having over 80 to 90% in cryptocurrency. I know where it's going to go, and I also know where it's going to like lead to at the end of the day in the next 5 to 7 years. Am I worried about the price drop after the 2021 crash? Probably not. But I'll make sure that I at least have some cash out to make sure that I fill other vehicles. So am I extremely worried? No. And also, crypto is that much just because it's gained that much. I've been in this since the bear market of March 2020, so you can imagine. But the safest places to put your money after this bear market, because I get the question that Bitboy's asking, but I think he's asking it incorrectly. It's this whole rich, do you want to be rich aspect. And I think the big thing here that we need to recognize is that once you come into some wealth or have some money, you want to be able to protect that. And it might not be $1 million. You might just get 50 grand. But that 50 grand could be something completely different than what you had before. I know I didn't have much savings before I got into crypto. Here I am in crypto, and you know, arguably I now have actual savings. Now, mind you, it is in a very speculative asset. But cashing out into things like gold, putting money into real estate, maxing out your tax-free savings vehicles like IRAs in the States, TFSAs in Canada, these are all good things to do. These are things of how you should preserve your wealth after this crypto market.
I believe at this point to diversify, and it depends on how much money you've made. I think if you're like at 100 grand and that's equivalent to maybe a year's worth of salary, then it's not as bad as if it's, you know, $1 million and you're making 50 grand a year, and maybe then it's smarter to play it a little more safe. My personal recommendation, or what I would do, is probably sell off at least half and invest somewhere between index funds or real. Whatever you have time.
I'm just going to touch on this selling half aspect. You can if you don't understand where the market is going, but at the end of the day, selling half, it's not a logical plan, right? Just having a plan of an arbitrary number, and you hear this all the time. People ask me questions, when am I going to cash out? What price do I cash out at? How much do I sell at X price? That's the wrong way to think about it. You shouldn't be thinking that I'm going to sell 50% of my Bitcoin at $100,000. You should be selling in increments, small little amounts, all the way up and then all the way down. That's what you should be doing. Dollar cost averaging in, dollar cost averaging out. One big lump sum, it's an emotional move. Now I get it if in the situation, if this is $1 million and you make 50 grand a year, yeah, maybe it is smart to cash out a good chunk of that. But for a smart investor looking to maximize their gains, dollar cost averaging in and out is going to be the best way all around, as long as you have a plan and you stick to it.
Real estate, whatever you have time to do and feel comfortable with, I would take a safer approach, spread your money around. That way, just in case something were to happen to it, you're at least going to have money aside in something that shouldn't be as volatile.
Yeah, but Bitcoin has piqued your interest a little bit. You've been talking about on your channel. What are kind of your general thoughts? What was the moment where you said, you know what, I think maybe this is a good thing to either talk about or invest in?
I think when I started seeing a lot of bigger corporations put some of their reserves in Bitcoin, that was the point where I thought to myself, it's worth it to learn more about what it is. And for me, I've always been, I don't want to say I've been dismissive of it, but I'm open to the idea of looking into something that I've been skeptical about and changing.
I can already tell that I'm going to have a lot of opinions this video. It's only 2 minutes and I've paused like how many times? But this is exactly why someone like Stephan doesn't need to be trusted when we're talking about crypto. He might have some great investment advice and how to preserve and make more money with real estate and everything else. But in terms of cryptocurrency, yeah, of course, you got in because Michael Saylors of the world and Tesla and all these other big hype machines. But the reality is this is the wrong time to buy. This is the wrong time to be rich. This is the wrong time to make gains. The gains are made in bear markets. I was lucky enough to get in at the tail end of the bear market, and now here we are in the bull market in complete profit. But if you're here in a bull market, you have to be careful for sure. But obviously, he's just following the institutional money. He came in when all the other hype was around it. And this is just what I'm talking about. It's all based on emotion, not logic. He dismissed Bitcoin numerous times.
An opinion on it based on new research. And so the more I looked into it, this was earlier this year, really starting since like November, December. The more I looked into it, the more I began to like it. And the more I began to think, well, I'd rather take the 1% risk and be in it than not take 1% of my net worth and be out of it. So I got...
If he really looked into it, I would argue he'd put a lot more than 1% of his net worth in, but okay.
To 1%. That 1% has now grown to about almost 2% now. And it's at a point now where I'm starting to treat it like any other investment. So for every $100,000 I'll put in the stock market, I'll take maybe $1,000 to $2,000 of that and put it into Bitcoin or Ethereum. And so my strategy right now is basically just a dollar cost average over the long term. And I'm going to keep it probably under 5% of my net worth. Right now it's at 2. I mean, if it goes 2, 3, 4, that doesn't matter. It's really for me an amount that if that were to go to 0 tomorrow, it would be disappointing, but I wouldn't be devastated. So that is how I'm treating it, at least right now.
And I think that's a very important point, because something we always tell people, and we understand people get overextended. I'm very overextended in terms of percentage of my portfolio, of my overall wealth into cryptocurrency. But don't invest what you can't afford to lose. You don't want something to be such a gut punch when you lose it that it makes you question your life. Or, we saw it happen with a guy that was doing, derivatives trading on Robinhood that took his life. Very, very sad story. You don't want to get to that point. So I do think that's really good. I would say, I hope that your percentage. I do think that's really.
I think this is. I'm not even going to touch on this, but I don't know. I feel a little uncomfortable that Bitboy's even bringing this up. Especially since he's the one that's been getting wicked out nonstop in leverage trading, and multiple people that follows him have been doing the same. So, okay, man, sure. I'm not saying anything about the Robinhood suicide. It seems so bizarre that this is Bitboy that's
grows to like 10% of your portfolio as the price of Bitcoin goes way up. How would you handle that if Bitcoin does go? A lot of us think Bitcoin's going to $300,000 this year. There's a lot of signs that do point to that. Are you going to, if it gets above, let's say 5%, are you just going to start pulling it out? Or are you going to let it grow?
No, I would let it grow. At this point, it's all or nothing in terms of that. So I'm not planning to do anything with it unless I needed the money. If there's something that came up where I'm like, crap, I need money, Bitcoin. I would consider that, but otherwise, I'm just planning to hold this for like 50 years. Okay. Goes to zero, fine. If it goes up a lot, great. But yeah, if it grows to more, I would 99% not take any money off the table.
So like if you needed to buy a Logan Paul NFT, that's what you would do. Pull money out.
I would sell my Ethereum first.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to go back to our original question with what the suggestion would be to people that you want to, that would want to hedge some of their.
No comment. I agree. I agree with a lot of what he says. A lot of people, even to me, say like, what do you mean you cash out into Bitcoin? But yeah, I cash out into Bitcoin. The best thing that you can do for your financial future right now is stacking sats. I promise you, that is the best thing long term that you can do. It is digital gold. Gold is the analog to Bitcoin. So realistically, Stephan saying that he's going to hold for the lifetime. Great. Good for him. I think it's going to be worth a lot of money in the 50 years. And I think that's the smartest move that he could do. I do like the jab. I will sell my Ethereum first.
Newfound wealth into other areas. What is the area of investing and traditional investing you think is the lowest barrier to entry for understanding to just jump in and start, kind of making money?
Yeah, the lowest barrier to entry wouldn't necessarily be the best.
Gotcha.
Lowest barrier to entry, I would say, is an index fund. I think the obvious go-to answer is just take $6,000, open up a Roth IRA, go and invest in a broad index fund, VT SAX, just the total stock market index fund. That's the lowest barrier to entry. In 20 minutes, go and invest.
Here's the thing, and I got into the index funds, I got into the ETFs before I even got into crypto. I was in the stock market. I all in on Vanguard's ETF for the S&P 500. Yes, 100% to save your wealth. For anyone that doesn't want to learn about the stock market or learn about traditional markets or learn about anything, any aspect of making money, buy an ETF, be happy about it, and don't think about anything else, because realistically, you're missing out on 30% a year. But hey, buy your ETF and be happy. That is not the way to get rich. It's not the way to make money. It's a way to preserve wealth. If you want to hold and be safe, these are tactics that you take when you're, 80 years old and heading into retirement. The reality is I'm not going to be in, especially right now with the stock market how it is, there's no chance in hell that I'm going to go into the S&P 500 right now. And I know I could get a lot of hate about this. I could be very bearish about the stock market sometimes, but the reality is the market is being propped up by printing of money from the US government. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Do you want to get in to a market that is getting ready to be pulled right from under you? Or do you want to sit in hard assets like gold, possibly real estate, possibly a little bit of Bitcoin and fiat money gaining interest, right? So these are other aspects that you can do to hedge around, right? There are other ways to make money than ETFs. For the 12% gain that you would get from an ETF, I don't know, 12% annual. If you're happy with your 12%, you're happy with your 12%. There's nothing I can really do to talk to you otherwise. So in a lot of ways, Graham is right, but in a lot of ways, I disagree.
You could set up a Roth IRA, throw your money in an index fund, and be completely done and never look at it again. That would be the lowest barrier to entry. I think the best option, though, depending on your situation, use some of that money, put a down payment on a house, like a duplex or a triplex, move in one of the units, rent out the others, pay for your cost of the mortgage and property taxes, try to live for free, you're almost very close to it, and then just live there as long as you can, let the property appreciate. You're diversifying your net worth a little bit, and you get a place to live.
Yeah. What are you looking for?
This is smart. This is the one thing that you should be doing. If you have debt, pay it off. If you don't have a house, buy one. Maybe do something like rent hacking. Make it so your monthly expenses are being reduced. That is the best way to preserve wealth, not an index fund.
or in an investment like that? Like what separates a good investment like a duplex from a bad investment?
Good investment, it makes money.
Yeah.
Bad investment, it loses money.
I like that.
That's really what it comes down to. I would say from a lot of the properties that are out there, like 98% of it is just trash.
Yeah.
Like you can't just go on Zillow and be like, oh, I'll buy this investment property right now. Chances are it's a bad investment. It takes a long time to try to find like the right deal. That's been one of the reasons why I have not been buying real estate as an investment. It takes so much time, and that time gets taken away from everything else that I'm doing. So if you have the time, by all means, do it. That's what I did for the first like 8 years of my career, is spend nonstop every day looking for good deals. And after like 6 months, one deal would come up. It's like, yeah, that's the one that I could actually make money on. There's enough upside. It's under market value. I could fix it up. I could add value to it. Most, it's just crap.
Yeah. I think that's the difficult thing, is finding that right spot. And a lot of novice people that might just go, grab the first thing they see, and that's not always going to be where you're going to want to put your money. Question back on you. Do you think that real estate is in a bubble? And do you also think that the stock market right now is in a bubble? What do you kind of see happening with those things?
I don't see any of those in a bubble. I think they're both fueled right now by really low interest rates. Real estate is unique because real estate is not just dependent on one factor. It's a whole bunch of different factors that make it up. So let's say one aspect of that would be supply and demand. One would be the local job market. The other might be inflation, and the other might be interest rates. So you have 4 different aspects that play into that building. And then also, how much money does it make? And is that return comparable to other assets for the amount of risk that you take in it? So there's so much for real estate. The one thing I could see happening to real estate is that if interest rates go up, real estate becomes a little bit more expensive because of that. Yeah. Maybe people could afford less, so prices come down. But it almost ends up being the same price for you, because either you pay a low interest rate and a higher price, or you pay a lower price and a higher.
I know I'm going to get some hate. I totally understand that. 100%. What I'm about to say is going to piss people off. The housing market is not rock solid. We know this. 2008 was just a little while ago. It wasn't that long ago, folks. The housing market is not rock solid. Everyone's buying houses now because of COVID. Everyone's getting into major loans. In Canada, we just had the rates increase for the rates on mortgages, the fixed rates. This is going to happen. The trends are going to increase. Sure, the interest rates are low, but in 3 to 4 years, when those fixed rates are changed and when nobody can afford their loans anymore, people are going to default. This is what happened, and it's what's going to happen again. I'm not saying it's going to be as bad as 2008, but yes, we are in a bubble. I don't care what Stephan says or anything like that. The Federal Reserve is printing in so much money. People are getting into houses just to get away from COVID, right? Just to get into a home instead of an apartment. It is what it is. Listen, I understand that there's so many real estate guys that are going to get mad at me saying that. But I'm holding out for lower prices. I know the rates are low, but I think the prices are going to sink. I could be wrong, but I know the Canadian market has not changed at all, and we have a massive problem now, especially with COVID and everything else, and Toronto moving into little areas like my town and increasing property values. It's insane. It's absolutely astronomical when the average house cost is $700,000. That's crazy. That is nuts, right? That is too much, and there's only so much that it can go, because at this point, anyone under the age of 30 isn't getting a house. That's just how it is. So,
we also talked on your show about the M1 money supply and the parabolic movement, the helicopter money. Like, how safe do you feel putting investments that are ultimately equated to US dollars in this economy that we might be facing with hyperinflation? Do you think that's even a concern, or in your mind, like, is that just not something that's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see hyperinflation. Where we are seeing, if you want to argue inflation, I'd say you see inflation in asset prices. I don't think the inflation has translated to goods and services. Like, you're not going to the grocery store right now and paying $10 for milk. Right. You're not going and buying a car right now, and that car went from $20,000 to $50,000. You are seeing that in the stock market. So that is the biggest concern for me.
I think there's a massive disconnect here about like what inflation is and how that impacts everything. So inflation isn't going to be something that you suddenly see, right? Money's not going to be injected into the economy, sent in, and then all of a sudden the price of bread and milk is going to jump up dramatically, right? And arguably, we do see that. We see that happening now. Regular people like you and me, right? Individuals that live in the real world and aren't sitting on a giant stockpile of cash. We recognize how massive the prices are going up in the grocery stores. How much it is to just live now, right? It's incredible. I live in Canada. I'm not even in the States. Our rental units are through the roof. Groceries are insane. It's nuts. Everything is expensive. This is where we're heading. Hyperinflation is happening. So to say that it's not is baffling. When you're looking at diversification, you should be diversifying not in different asset classes, but in different currencies, different types of barterability. You should be having gold. You should be having stocks in USD fiat money. You should have cryptocurrency assets, right? These different hedges, all three of these, whether it be precious metals, fiat currencies, cryptocurrencies, or whatever else you could find, whether that's gold or Pokemon cards for you, whatever, any store of wealth, it doesn't matter what it is. Seashells have store of value, right? Anything. But you shouldn't hold everything in one, right? I'm not saying that if you have all stocks, bonds, rental units and everything else, you would argue that portfolio is pretty diversified, right? It's all United States dollars. It's all fiat currency. It's all fiat currency savings vehicles. And if fiat goes to zero, what are you going to do then? Right? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not giving you financial advice. I'm telling you that you should prepare, and you shouldn't be listening to people that are saying that hyperinflation isn't happening when 1/3 of the USD have been printed in 2020. In 2020, we're in 2021. It's happening now. Like, this is the end. We are heading to the end of fiat money as we know it. The writing's on the wall. To say that it's not happening is absolutely absurd. I get it. He's a very successful individual, but I don't think he's been through a crash like the 1930s that we are directly heading for. I didn't think this video was going to get me so heated up. I don't know how I'm going to upload this, but it's got to go up.
But a lot of the population right now is not spending their money on goods and services. So you could argue that we might see inflation when the economy fully reopens and we start getting back to normal. But then you also have the argument that maybe people are going to be so traumatized by the situation that they're not going to spend the same as they were 2 years ago. And there could be a brand new mindset, like we came out of the Great Depression in the 20s.
That is bad for the economy. Bad for the economy. If we're not spending money, bad for the economy.
And like our grandparents were very much like, no, we're not going to spend money. We're going to be very frugal, because they remember that.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of other people are going to feel the same way. So we might not see inflation like that. We might see inflation. Well, we are seeing, I would call it inflation in asset prices. Is it justified? Maybe, because there's more money going into circulation, and that is going to end up somewhere. That's my argument.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thought. I haven't really thought about the mindset coming out, but I mean, I would think a lot of people are going to come out of this mindset with, government got me. They're just going to print more money.
Maybe, but I also think that now I've started to notice that saving money is cool. I've never seen it before. Like 10 years ago, saving money was not necessarily cool.
Yeah.
I feel like now it's become trendy almost to be like, I'm good with personal finance. I'm good with credit cards. So like I'm growing my net worth.
It's because of your channel. That's why everybody loves Graham's channel.
I think my channel coincided.
Listen, it frustrates me when I hear stonks, right? And when I hear Bitboy try to talk about stocks. Let me tell you where I actually think we could see a retracement. And I do believe that this could happen. The fact of the matter is that Venezuela had the best stock market, best performing market in the world before their hyperinflation moment. This happens. We are in the most volatile and most gain of the stock market we've ever seen. And maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm Chicken Little screaming that the sky is falling, but I am predicting that we might see upwards to 60% plus stock market retracement. I know that's an incredibly big number, but I do think it might happen. If we see the fall of the United States dollar, the dramatic, like, oh my God, the drop would be incredible in terms of like how severe it would be. And I'm not saying this is like some sort of joyous thing, right? People are going to lose their jobs. People are going to lose their lives. People are going to go through some horrible, horrible shit that's going to happen over the next couple of years because of what's happening, because of what the Federal Reserve is doing, because of the printing of money. It is what it is.
Now becoming impossible to say the economy is not doing well right now because certain industries are doing the best they've ever been now.
Such as Amazon?
Almost any online company right now, including YouTube, as I'm sure you've seen.
Yeah.
Bitboy
Crypto is doing great.
Yeah, YouTube is really doing the best it's ever done. And I could say that from every creator I've ever spoken to over the last year is doing better during this time than they were a year ago.
Yeah.
And that's just because more people are home, they're watching YouTube, and that's become their source of entertainment for free. And a lot of the online companies, Etsy is another fantastic example that just blasted earnings, and they're making a lot of money. Google is another one, just doing fantastically.
FANG is not representative of the economy, okay? Facebook, Apple, Google, Netflix, I could give a fuck, okay? I do not care about them performing well.
Are there any altcoins, anything outside of Bitcoin that you're interested in, and why?
Ethereum. That's been the only. So I did a 60-40 split between Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I try, if I invest a little bit in Bitcoin, I try to do the same. I try to buy let me get one extra Ethereum. That's it. That's it right now.
So not Cardano.
No.
Wow.
Even though I've been listen,
you've been peppered, right? They've been peppering you.
It was at 80 cents. Everyone's like, just buy Cardano, buy Cardano. And I didn't, but I remember a lot of people told me to buy all these coins back in 2017. I'm glad I didn't listen to that. There was one though. What do you think of Nano?
I don't understand that. Glad I didn't listen to that, even though 90% of coins pumped in 2017. Like, it's nonsensical, the whole interview. Honestly, I would say it's not worth watching. So this is why I'm doing it for you guys. And I am going to end it here because I'm not going to suffer through the rest of this. But I am going to talk about my points of like things that I look at and see out of this. Is one, Graham Stephan doesn't know what the hell he's talking about cryptocurrency, which is fine. He's not a crypto guy. And I'm not going to get upset about him for that reason. But he also has no idea what he's talking about the economy and hyperinflation, or the USD being printed into basically nothing, the stock market being on a bubble. He has no idea. And you know what? It's fine. If you want to wear your rose-colored glasses, and same with you guys, anyone down here that's going to give me hate, going to dislike the video because of the things that I've said here, think that I'm wrong, history proves me right. History says I am right. History is on my side here, not on yours. So if you're telling me that printing fiat currency is going to do well, everything's going to be fine, hunky-dory, it's all good. The repo market closed. The Federal Reserve shut down a couple of days ago, had a big glitch. They were down on a minor glitch. They couldn't send money, right? All of these things are happening, but no, it's going to be fine. It's like that meme, right? Where the house is burning behind you and you're just like, this is fine, right? That's exactly what's happening. And I feel like that's what all of these big finance YouTubers are saying, right? And you have the Andre guy, whatever the hell his name is, when he started getting into crypto, he's like, oh, buy Bitcoin Cash and buy all these things and buy all that. It's nonsense. Nobody's researching anything. Nobody looks into anything, right? The fact that Graham didn't buy Cardano is a testament that he didn't research anything about Cardano. Because if you looked into Cardano, you would not buy Ethereum over Cardano. You wouldn't. I'm sorry. And I know ETH Bulls in the chat. Yeah, rip F in the chat, bros. Because look at Cardano now. It's unreal. So the fact of the matter is, would I follow Graham for financial advice today? And I have listened to him before. I think there's a lot of good information here about rental units and preserving your wealth, getting into some high index funds when you're looking at securing some wealth, sure, but not as a general growth. It's not going to work. He's wrong about the economy, but at the end of the day, he'll be proven wrong. The only saving grace for the economy is if a United States dollar backed CBDC comes out and kind of saves the day, but we'll probably go through a bit of a massive recession, if not a Great Depression. I don't think that there's any way at this point to avoid something like that. I think we're on that death track, and I don't think there's any other way around it. I hope that you guys got out of this a little less stressed than I did. I hope I helped you by watching this so you didn't have to. That's it from me. I know I got very excited, but these are obviously things that I'm pretty passionate about and care a lot about. I think what is happening right now in the world is pretty scary and pretty terrifying, and I don't want to see it happen. And it's frankly, it's going to happen, and that's a very unfortunate thing. So that's it for me, everybody. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. Take it easy. Happy hodling.